Welcome back to your home garage, and in this video my daughter and I are going to show you how to change the oil on this Fiat 500 and how to overcome some of the unique challenges you just may face. Before you get started, let's make sure we have everything that we need. And I'm going with full synthetic oil, so the recommended 5W30. Then I have my synthetic oil filter cartridge. And I'm just a fan of these drain plugs, so I'll be swapping my original one for this. A 1 and 1/16 inch or 17 millimeter socket attached to a universal joint, extension, and ratchet, along with the standard socket set for those miscellaneous items. A pair of low profile car ramps, one portable drain pan, a funnel to help pour the oil, a tarp to help with oil spills, torque wrench for needed specifications, for protection, gloves, and safety glasses, and lastly, some paper towels. Start by driving up the car ramps slowly. Now, if you've never done this before, it would be beneficial to have an assistant help with the alignment. They can tell you where you are in relationship to the ramps and how you're progressing up them. The key is to just go slowly and take your time.
A little bit more. Yeah. You're on the level now. And then stop.
With the car on the ramps, an extra bit of safety is to chalk off the back tires. Open the hood by pulling the latch located in the driver's side footwell. Release the hood latch and secure the hood with the prop rod. It's such a tight space in this engine bay that removing the engine cover will give you that little bit of extra space. So start by just pulling it straight up and then gently finagle it out. To make the current oil flow out just a little bit better, loosen the oil fill cap and pull the dipstick. Spread the tarp under your work area to catch any debris, which will make for an easy cleanup. Now we have to remove this lower engine cover, which has 6 bolts. Sometimes this is referred to as a splash shield, skid plate, a belly pan. Either way, it's all the same. So with your 10 millimeter socket, take your time and remove the 6 bolts which hold the lower engine cover. The oil plug will be a 13 millimeter socket head. Now the challenge is going to be the cross member that's in the way of the ratchet. Even with an extension, it's just the wrong angle. So I'll use the box end of this 13 millimeter combination wrench to loosen the drain plug. This should have been torqued to 20 foot-pounds, therefore it won't take much to break it free. With the oil pan in position, slowly remove the drain plug. As the oil is draining from the oil pan, we can now move to the oil filter cartridge, which is located at the front of the engine bay on the passenger side. This is when you'll need that 1 1/16 or 17mm socket attached to a universal joint along with an extension and ratchet. Now I'll try to capture this as best as I can. Slide the socket on top of the plastic filter housing and ratchet it off slowly. Take your time as it is plastic and you will be reusing it. When removing the socket, just be careful not to hit anything to dislodge it from the extension. The last thing you want to do is go fishing for a socket in a very tight space. Now get your hand in there and try to wiggle it loose and out. There is absolutely no easy way of doing this and it may end up making a mess. But that's the reason you have the tarp below. Once the oil filter is out of the housing, try to position your hand on the left side of the AC line. This should give you enough room to remove the filter. With the filter out, use a standard screwdriver to remove the rubber gasket. The new filter cartridge that you just purchased will come with a new gasket. To remove the filter cartridge, just pull it straight out. Before inserting the new cartridge, remove all the old oil with a rag or paper towel. Here's the new synthetic oil filter cartridge that we'll be installing. As mentioned, this kit comes with a new housing gasket. The tab end of the filter goes into the housing and just push it to lock it into place. And of course open the new gasket in order to prep it for installation. With some fresh oil, prime the gasket, which will make it supple and seal better on contact surfaces. Work it down the filter to the gasket groove to ensure that it's seated properly. So a helpful tip is to place the filter upwards as you try to get it into position and then flip it 180 degrees when it's in the engine bay. This helps to ensure that you don't accidentally knock the cartridge out of the plastic housing. Then you're fishing for your filter in the engine bay. Once you have it flipped or orientated the correct way, just hand tighten it until it feels snug. And this may take some time, so once again, just be patient. Tighten it as much as you can with your hand. Now tighten it up with your 17mm or 1 1/16 socket with extension. Grab your torque wrench, and there is a specified torque measurement, so you'll want to load this to either 25 Newton meters or 18 foot-pounds. This is a personal preference, but I always swap the drain plugs for these AGS plugs versus the standard ones. First, I like the finger grip feature. It's also coated with a rust protected inhibitor, and the overall design avoids cross threading. Once again, it's just a personal preference, but I find these AGS plugs a nice upgrade. Now wipe off any last remaining oil drips. Then hand tighten the oil drain plug. And if you're going to reuse the original drain plug, then just ensure you change the crush washer on it. Just don't reuse the old one. And by all means, I'm not saying that the AGS plug is the best. I'm just a fan of the design, along with how easy it is to use. And that red high temperature gasket, which always gives me a perfect seal. Plus, all the plugs are a 14mm hex, so there's a consistency amongst all my cars. With my 14mm combination wrench, this needs to be tightened to 27 Newton meters or 20 foot-pounds. Because of that cross brace, it makes it really difficult to get a socket or a torque wrench in there. I've got a good feel for 20 foot-pounds, so I'll confidently use my combination wrench to tighten it. For oil capacity, we need 3.8 liters or 4 quarts, and this includes the oil filter capacity. A tip to get the fill capacity correct is to mark how much oil should remain in the container. Next, insert your filler funnel. Then start pouring in the fresh oil until you hit your mark. And this mark is set to 4 quarts used or 1 quart of oil remaining in the container, so it should give me the perfect capacity. Now just keep checking the container frequently so you don't overfill on the recommended capacity. I'm just about to hit the line, so I know I have a safe amount of oil in the engine, but I need a flat surface to get an accurate measurement. So remove the funnel, tighten the fill cap, and push in the dipstick so we can start the vehicle. When the vehicle is started, we're specifically looking for any leaks before we lower the vehicle off the ramps. Visually inspect around the oil filter and then under the vehicle to ensure oil isn't spraying or leaking. Keep in mind how messy it was to remove the old oil filter, so some of that old oil could be splattered within the engine bay. Everything looks nice and tight, so let's put it all back together. With the engine off and still on the ramps, fasten the lower engine cover. Double check the oil cap and dipstick are also secure. Then lower the hood because we have to back the car off the ramps. Remove the wheel chocks. Now lower the vehicle slowly off the ramps. With the vehicle on a level surface, we can now take an accurate oil level reading and top it off accordingly. Because the engine was just running, always wipe off the dipstick and then reinsert it for a proper reading. The oil reading is just a little bit more than halfway up the hash marks. We also left the oil in the container just above our mark, so we have a slight top up to do. Now remove the oil fill cap. Insert the funnel. And fill the small amount of oil remaining. The container still has 1 quart remaining, so we have a perfect 4 quarts in the engine. The new oil reading is almost at the top of the hash marks. Because I was just running the engine, some of the oil would be dispersed and not all sitting in the oil pan. So nearly at the top of the hash marks in this situation is basically perfect. And of course, resecure the oil fill cap. Now pour your old oil into a safe container for proper disposal. If you're not sure where to take it, just check with your local parts store as most of them will take your old oil, or call Waste Management. There you have it. Now you know how to change the oil in your Fiat 500 with some tricks that will hopefully make it a much better experience while working in such a small engine bay. So make sure you help to keep this channel going by hitting that like button, sharing this video with a friend. Also, please comment below as I reply to all. Plus, don't forget to subscribe. And we'll see you next time on Your Home Garage.